Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into a story, a moment in history that I think will particularly resonate with you, given your faith.
Okay.
We're talking about the Siege of Vienna in 1683.
Yes.
A time when the fate of Europe, and maybe even Christendom, hung in the balance.
It really was a clash of empires, a clash of ideologies.
Yeah.
And to set the stage, we really have to think about the Ottoman Empire at the height of its power. They had been expanding westward for centuries.
Centuries.
And, think about the fall of Constantinople in 1453. That sent shockwaves throughout Europe. That was a real sign of their military might.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Constantinople, the jewel of the Byzantine Empire, falling to the Ottomans.
Right.
It really sets the scene, because by 1683, they were at Vienna's doorstep.
Exactly.
And Vienna wasn't just strategically important, it was a symbol.
Oh, absolutely.
Of the Holy Roman Empire.
The heart of the Holy Roman Empire. It controlled these vital trade routes.
Yeah.
And for the Ottomans, under Kara Mustafa Pasha, its capture was key.
A key stepping stone.
To dominating Europe.
And so, in July of 1683, the unthinkable happened. A massive Ottoman army, some estimates say close to 200,000 strong, descended upon Vienna.
Wow, 200,000.
And laid siege to the city. The defenders, outnumbered 10 to 1.
10 to 1.
Faced a desperate situation.
I bet. And, we have these accounts from inside Vienna during the siege, and they're just harrowing.
Oh, absolutely.
They're running out of supplies. There's this constant bombardment from Ottoman cannons. And then they know that sappers are tunneling under the city walls.
Oh, God.
Trying to blow them up from below.
It's amazing they held out as long as they did.
A real testament to the human spirit.
Yeah. It really is. It must have felt like the end of the world for those trapped inside.
Right.
But there was hope on the horizon.
Okay.
King John III Sobieski of Poland.
Yes.
A devout Catholic and brilliant military leader. He understood what was at stake.
He did. He knew if Vienna fell, Poland would be next.
Poland would be next.
They would be the next target.
On the Ottomans' path of conquest.
Exactly.
He understood the spiritual implications as well.
Oh, absolutely. This wasn't just about territory. It was a battle for the very soul of Europe.
Yeah.
I mean, for Sobieski, the defense of Vienna was a defense of Christianity itself.
He answered the Pope's call to action, didn't he?
He did.
Forming the Holy League with other European powers.
This was a remarkable alliance.
It really was.
Bringing together these Catholic forces against a common enemy.
And Sobieski at their head.
And leading the charge, the Winged Hussars.
The Winged Hussars.
I mean, the atmosphere must have been just electric.
Oh, I bet.
You have the Ottomans, confident after weeks of the siege. They think they're about to win.
Yeah.
And then you have the defenders inside Vienna, just worn out. But I imagine their hopes were really lifted when Sobieski and the Holy League arrive.
It was a clash of civilizations. It really was a moment that would determine the fate of Europe. And for Sobieski, a devout Catholic, this was more than just a military campaign. This was like a holy crusade.
It was a divine mission to protect Christendom from the forces of Islam.
His faith really was a driving force in his leadership, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. He believed that God had chosen him for this.
Yeah.
That God had chosen him to lead this fight to protect the heart of Europe.
I can only imagine that weight of responsibility.
Oh, yeah.
Leading all these different European armies into battle against such a formidable foe.
Right, and it wasn't just Sobieski.
Right.
I mean, the religious fervor of the time was palpable.
Yeah.
The threat of the Ottomans, this Muslim power coming into the heart of Christian Europe, it really ignited a sense of religious zeal.
So everyone fighting alongside Sobieski, this was a holy war for them.
It was a chance to prove their faith.
Defend their way of life.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to imagine that level of religious conviction today.
It really was a different time. I mean, religion permeated everything.
Yeah.
And this conflict with the Ottomans was seen as this clash between good and evil, between Christianity and Islam.
It adds another layer of complexity to the whole thing.
It really does.
And the stakes were so high.
Extremely high.
Historians talk about, what could have happened if Vienna had fallen.
Right.
We could be talking about the collapse of the Habsburg Empire, the spread of Ottoman rule deeper into Europe. Who knows, maybe even reaching Rome.
It's a chilling thought. Vienna was the gateway to Western Europe. If they had taken Vienna, the Ottomans would have the strategic base to launch more attacks into the heart of Europe. It's crazy to think about how different things could be.
Yeah. It really is. So Sobieski, with his unwavering faith and his military genius, he's literally standing at the gates of Vienna, holding back this tide of Ottoman expansion.
And it's a moment that resonates, especially for those of us who share that faith.
Absolutely.
So Sobieski, the brilliant military mind that he was, he had a plan. He had a plan to break the siege.
Yeah.
And a big part of that plan was the winged hussars.
He positioned his forces so carefully, the winged hussars especially, ready to unleash them at just the right time. I mean, the tension must have been unbearable.
Oh, I can only imagine. Both sides are preparing for this monumental clash.
And then, on September 12, 1683, Sobieski gave the order, the largest cavalry charge in history. Over 18,000 horsemen.
Ow.
They thundered down the hills, the winged hussars leading the way.
Incredible. Can you imagine that? The ground is shaking beneath thousands of horses.
I know, the roar as those winged warriors charged.
It must have been terrifying.
And awe-inspiring.
Yeah, and the impact was devastating.
The Ottomans just couldn't withstand the ferocity of the charge.
Nope, they were completely routed. They just fled, leaving all their artillery and supplies behind.
And that was it.
The siege of Vienna was broken.
Sobieski standing victorious, and he says, venomous, days visit. Right.
Right. We came, we saw, God conquered.
What a testament to his faith.
Really is.
What a victory. He came, we saw, God conquered. Powerful words.
Really are.
Sobieski, guided by his faith, leading the charge, saving Vienna, and maybe, Western civilization as we know it.
It's a moment that captures the spirit of the age.
Yeah.
That belief that God was on their side, that they were fighting for their way of life.
Absolutely. And think about the impact that victory had.
Oh, yeah.
It really went way beyond Vienna.
It did. It marked, the beginning of the decline of Ottoman power in Europe.
A turning point.
Yeah. I mean, the Battle of Vienna, people really see it as the high watermark of their expansion into Europe.
From there, they lost ground. They retreated from all that territory that they had taken. It really makes you think how different Europe could be if Sobieski hadn't intervened.
It really does.
You've talked about the winged hussars a lot, and I have to admit, they've really captured my imagination.
They're fascinating, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, they're more than just elite cavalry.
They really symbolize the Polish spirit.
This mix of military skill and unwavering faith.
Exacts.
And those wings, those iconic wings. I mean, what was their purpose? Were they just symbolic, or was there something more to them?
It's a question historians debate. Some think, maybe they were meant to deflect blows from, like lances or swords.
Right.
Others think it was more about psychological impact, making a terrifying image, that sound when they charged.
I can just imagine hundreds of hussars charging with those wings flapping.
Oh, yeah.
Terrifying.
Absolutely. It's easy to see why they would created this sense of shock and awe on the battlefield.
Yeah. But they weren't just for show.
No, absolutely not. Highly trained, disciplined warriors.
Right.
I mean, those lances, over 16 feet long in some cases,
yeah,
designed to just shatter enemy formations.
Wow.
And they were great with their sabers, too.
So they were a force to be reckoned with. They really embodied the strength and determination of the Polish army.
Yeah.
And it's no surprise they were so important in so many battles.
And the siege of Vienna, right. That charge down the hills towards the Ottomans, it was a crucial moment.
It really was.
It broke the siege. It sent the Ottomans running. It's a moment that cemented their place in history. They weren't just, fearsome warriors. They were defenders of the faith.
And their legacy continues, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, they're such a powerful symbol of Polish pride, of courage, of devotion to the faith.
Well, woven into the fabric of Polish identity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They represent that time when Poland was a major power in Europe.
A time when Poland stood strong as a bastion of Catholicism against the forces of the East.
Yeah.
It's a story that's really powerful, especially for those of us who share that faith.
Yeah.
And this wasn't just a battle over land.
It was a battle for the soul of Europe.
And Sobieski, with his faith and his winged hussars, he played such an important role in ensuring that Christianity remained the dominant force in Western civilization.
It's a reminder that faith can inspire courage, it can unite people, and it can really shape the course of history. Sobieski, the Siege of Vienna, this story, it deserves to be remembered, not just because of the military stuff, but for what it means for the, religious and cultural side of Europe.
It has been a fascinating dive into this moment. Thank you so much for walking us through the Siege of Vienna and for telling us about Sobieski and the winged hussars.
It's been my pleasure.
And for those listening, We hope you learned something about this incredible moment in history, and maybe it inspired you to think about faith and courage a little differently. Until next time, keep exploring and keep diving deep.